Yes, it's me again. So here's what I've been doing. Now, I said I was going to do this in the other video that I had, but I thought it was good to just make one video about this whole thing right here. The whole thing of small business owners and entrepreneurs and people who are trying to better themselves in a community. And I thought this article was really important because it speaks a lot as to why the business in K-Town has really boomed and has really grown over the years. And it comes from out of the 92 riots, believe it or not. Um, so I was reading the article, and I'm going to read this article because I thought it was really interesting. So I'm just going to read as much as I can. So as a part of what is called KYCC's Community Economic Development Small Business Program, Mr. Kim, he's 68 years old. He hits the streets of Koreatown 3 times a week, reaching up to 10 businesses per day. He knocks on the doors and he walks into restaurants and meetings with mom and pop store owners that a heart are the heart of the that's the heart of the K-Town's business community. In total, he has face-to-face meetings with over 90 brick-and-mortar clients. KYCC's Community Economic Development was founded in 1992 in the wake of the Los Angeles riots that devastated the Korean business community. Over 1,100 businesses, many of them that were Korean owned, were destroyed and looted or arsoned. At the time of KYCC, CED provided immediate logistical, legal, and financial assistance, the foundation for our program to this day. Today, Mr. Kim runs a small business program which provides workshops, one-on-one counseling for Korean American and Koreatown business owners. As part of the Asian Pacific Islander Small Business Program, KYCC is funded by Small Business Administration, which is abbreviated as SBA, a local and national banks to deliver expert guidance on how to start and manage and grow businesses. In person, Mr. Kim offers business advice and from employee management to catering tips, and educates entrepreneurs on labor and tax laws and city permits. He was so encouraging, always telling me not to be afraid. This is a woman by the name of Miss Moon. She's a small business owner. As a business owner, I gained so much confidence in him, expanding our reach. Throughout the week, Mr. Kim collaborates with 2 other KYCC programs, Prevention Education and Environmental Services, to maximize the multi-service agency impact. With Prevention Education, a substance abuse program, Mr. Kim outreaches with the community organizers when they meet with liquor store owners and small markets. He also joins our environmental service team in their effort to plant shade trees in front of storefronts. KYCC has over 24 programs across many different units. Each is focused on their own priority area, whether it is mental health, community beautification, or economic development, explains Rick Kim, KYCC's Assistant Director of Community Economic Development Services. By focusing on the client, in this case many of whom are immigrant entrepreneurs, and by sharing information on all that we have to offer, Mr. Kim has greatly expanded KYCC's ability to educate and provide quality services to those in need. So starting this month, Mr. Kim will also be a will be the Korean speaker for liaison to Western Avenue businesses for the City of Los Angeles Great Streets Initiative. In partnership with the Mayor Office, City Council, Great Streets seeks to provide economic revitalization, increase public safety, enhance local culture, and support great neighborhoods. He will approach the Korean owners of Western Avenue businesses, furniture stores, flower shops, restaurants, Melrose Avenue, 3rd Street, to share small business technical assistance, resources, and community beautification efforts such as the sidewalk and facade improvements and tree plantings. So it goes on to talk a lot more. So I'm just going to jump down. It says, my role is to help the Korean small business communities, but I can't just think about Koreans. Now, you're hearing this coming from Korean promoter that is promoting small businesses. Mr. Kim says, I have to think about the entire customer base. Now, he says this because he's primarily focused on his people, his culture, but he's not just only focused on, he's focused on the customers as a whole. So he's not shutting people out, saying that we're not going to go mainstream. We're going to focus on our people, but we're also going to explode to where we can get big, focus on our culture, but also focus on mainstream. This is what I'm saying, that black business owners some of them have missed the boat on this one. This is the reason why K-Town, that was small and had small holes in the walls, little small mom and pop stores, have exploded because they used their tools, their knowledge, and they focused on each other, and to try to build each other up from a torn situation, and now it has exploded, and they collectively came together, and now they're getting bigger and stronger and bigger and stronger. And let's not say oh well, it's because they're not black. Let me tell you something, they're not white either. And so what I'm telling you is that if you look in history, there were a lot of discrimination going with Asian people. So even with that, they still collectively made it an effort to get together, join together, and become one unit, to be strong and to support one another. And this is what some of the black community has lost, a lack of trust in one another. And some of that distrust is you can see why it's happened, because look who you have in the media that has promoted people to go against their own people and not be supportive of one another. So we've seen that. We've seen people get on Fox News and say things against black people, and they're black themselves. We've seen this, and that they get paid to do this. And we've seen them fall too. We've seen those people fall. But in order for black businesses to thrive, we have to have some collectiveness. We have to follow other people from other groups and follow their business model. It's not copying. It is building. It is starting somewhere from scratch. And I really do believe the reason why that K-Town is a good example as to how to be more supportive of one another through times of crises, through times when you feel like everyone else has turned their back on you. If you get together and you say we share something in common, we can build and then support one another, and then later on, as you grow and become more stronger, then you can also be inclusive of, and you should always be inclusive of mainstream, because that's the only way you're going to expand. Because you can't just shut the doors on other people and say, well, you're not black, so there's nothing in here for you. We understand that some people are like extremely militant, but you have to be open to the possibility that when your business grows, money is what your business model is all centered around, is becoming bigger and to expand. You don't close the door on your opportunities and money just because it isn't in the hands of black folks. So if people are coming from other places and they appreciate your business and it happens to be black owned, and they want to buy your product, you don't say, well, because you're not black, I'm not going to sell to you. That is not the way you do business. So I'm just using this as an example, merely as an example. Now, I got this article. What is it? It's called Korea Youth Community Center, and the article, it has let me see, it's a client guide to services. And so I guess what they do is they hold meetings and they talk about business models and how to grow businesses, from small businesses, and to build community. And they do it in a way where it is not just primarily focused on just the Korean culture alone. That's the primary focus. But as they expand, they're inclusive of others, and they open up job opportunities. They're helping people from different backgrounds who may not be Korean. And so if you see the website, it's called KYCC. You can see some of the services that they offer. And so I think this might be a good model in terms of as an example to show how businesses can grow. Now we do have some people who are in we have a black business website, but I feel that not very many people look at it for some reason, because there are a lot of people who are just, they, instead of being collective, instead of building, they just see dollar signs alone, and they just think, okay, I'm just going to let them buy me out, and I'm going to move elsewhere, or I'm just going to be in the middle of nowhere somewhere, or I'm going to give up. And so that's the reason why you don't see, like there was this one guy, he was on YouTube, I'm sure people are familiar with him, and he was saying, you see there's a white town, there's a K town, there's a Asian town, there's a blah 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 town, but there's no black town. And that's probably the reason why you don't see that, because we're not collective. We're, aware, as in people who are not supportive. In other words, I'm not saying everybody is not supportive, but there's some people who don't support their own people because of distrust, or either they don't feel that we're able to grow. The reason why we're not able to grow, because you spend your money elsewhere, and you don't spend your money with people who look like you, and you don't care. And then, you just see dollar signs, and then when the opportunity arises, you get greedy, and then you lose out, and then you realize you're in a community where nothing reflects of your culture. And so this is how this happens. So there's a death of your culture economically in the business world. So that's the reason why you don't grow. So this is just my opinion. Now, somebody might say, I agree with that. And then others might say, oh, well, there's even more to it than that. It's even deeper. And so some people might even put it into the fact or the aspect that, they might even say, well, a lot of crack is decimated our communities, or racism, and stuff like that. But even with the racism there, even in the past, you've seen how people can collectively get together and grow out of a crisis. And so I think we're in a crisis. We're in another crisis right now. And I really believe that if we want to grow something, even if you don't own a business, you're not a small business owner, you can support your businesses. You can talk about your businesses. You can hold meetings, just like this guy. He says he walks around in the community and he tries to support people, and he tries to give them expertise. They don't turn their back and say, well, you know what, I don't care if you look like me. You can't tell me how to run my business. And see, how many people haven't heard that from our people, where we don't want to take advice from someone else. We're ready to close the door on them. And, maybe this person has something, they have some knowledge that they can share that can help give us more insight. They're not actually coming in and trying to change your business around. They're just giving you mere suggestions that might help to create more clientele to come in, or more money to flow, or ways that you connect with other people from other backgrounds that can give you expertise on how to grow your business and to become unique, and then cater not only to your own culture of people, but also to expand eventually and be inclusive of others. And see, that's what, if you see this information, you hear it, and it falls on deaf ears, people are not willing to hear, because they're too caught up in their self-hate, or they're too caught up in it, oh, it's a woman talking, I don't want to hear women talk. Or they're too caught up in well, who is she, to tell me I've been in the business for blah 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 years, but their businesses are not going anywhere. So these are the things that I think that people should take into account of, if they want to grow businesses, if they want to go somewhere and go further in the business world. This is just my input. This is my opinion, merely a suggestion. But I think, I've seen a lot of videos talking about how to plan financially and how to build business as well. I think these are good starts. This is one good example as a business model to mimic from. If you see this community and you see how small it started off and now it's just grown and it keeps growing, and it's K-Town is one day not really going to be a town. It's going to be K-City. So I just think that you should learn from another person's experience and say, if they could do that and come out successful, we could do the same thing and be just as strong. So I just think that people should take that in consideration. So I'll leave I'll leave like maybe the maybe a link, or at least the name of the website, and maybe some other websites in there, some examples. But it's just, I think that's the problem. I think really that's the problem. And then people who won't go to school, they don't want to learn anything new. They want to do the same old stuff that happened from years ago. And this is a new generation, new people, new outlook on life, and you have to be open to the new possibilities and don't stay stuck in the same old stuff, because if you do that, the same old model, that's another thing. When you're using something that's outdated, it's not attractive anymore. Not to this new generation of people who are into high-tech things, or maybe they're into a different flavor or style of food. A lot of people are into healthy food, healthy living, and you just gotta get with it. And some people are just not, and you have to open your mind up to new possibilities and get out of this old humdrum stuff. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And so if you want to attract clientele, then you better know who your clients are out there. You got to do your homework on this, because if you don't, that's how you lose out as well. What brings people back again? And just sometimes people's attitude. If they don't feel welcome by their own people, then what makes you think that they're going to spend money with you? If you're looking at them all sideways, you got an attitude problem, you don't want to, be friendly, you got problems, within yourself, you look at your own people in a negative way, and you just think about them, so I just want them to spend their money here, I don't care, whatever, then this is what you're gonna get. So, but anyway, I just thought that was an interesting points to make. So anyway, with that being said, I will leave in there the information about the KYCC program and what they've been offering. And I like the fact that, I will say, there's a lot of organization, there's a lot of collectiveness, there's a lot of support with one another, and those are the things that I think in the Black community, if you want us to thrive, we have to get that back again. And I hate to say this, but it seemed like when we were at the peak of racism, where it was like people were outright and hating one another and all this kind of stuff, and talking about how they hated black people. Black people seemed to stick together a little bit more in the 70s, and like in what was it, in the 50s, 60s, when you knew what side of the coin you were on, because you had nothing to do but stick together. You had no alternative but to support one another. But now that we have all this evolving of all these different issues, and people are separating because they can't agree on, they don't like this person because they're not religious. They don't like this person because they don't have the same mate as they have. They don't like this person because they have this education and the other person doesn't have this. So we've separated on other little sub issues. And that's the reason why there's not any collectiveness. There's other people that have certain views about life than others. They don't like it that you believe something that somebody else doesn't believe. So I think this is what has split people apart. And I'm not saying it's just happening in the Black communities. I believe it's happening in other communities as well, other groups, in pockets where people have kind of like segregated themselves. amongst one another. So, that's why I say, like, all black people don't come from the same places, cultures. We're realizing this. And so I feel like that's the reason why you can't get a collectiveness like it used to be, where, when everybody's pushed in one neighborhood or pushed in one corner, even though you may have different languages, come from different cultures, backgrounds, believe in different things, you have this one thing you share, that they definitely do not like black people. And they don't want you living in their communities and going to school with their kids. So you have to come together. You're forced. But now that it isn't like that, and now you have, all this different stuff going on and these different beliefs, and you're starting to see, well, there's hate everywhere, but it's in all different directions. And there's all different types of issues coming out. Nobody really knows who to trust. They don't know who to go to. Okay, who's on my page, on my level? Who, I hate the feminists, or I like feminists, or I can agree to disagree, stuff like that. So people got to get this stuff out of their head. Even there, I'll be honest, there's some things that I disagree with that some people maybe they're in agreement with, but I do know this, that when it comes to building a community, you have to put some of those personal issues aside, and you have to look at the bigger picture here. Are you trying to grow your community, or are you trying to do more damage to it because of your own personal, beliefs, and your own issues that are more in it in yourself, within yourself? And so that's where I'm saying that it's not just racism that can destroy communities or destroy black people, if you want to say quote unquote black people. Sometimes we can hurt ourselves because we're hurting each other because we don't agree on some issue. And so with that being said, well, thanks for listening, but I would hope that you would take the Korean business model and you would say, oh, don't get mad and say, oh, they're not black, and Koreans have been doing stuff to black people all this time. They get opportunities that we don't get. Some of the things that we have gotten has been because we've been a unit, and we stuck together, and we helped each other up. But when you're not together on one accord with anything, then it doesn't matter what comes against you, you are going to fall, and fall you will. But if you have this desire to rise above all of that, there's nothing really that can stop you but yourself. So, all right, well, thanks for listening. I just thought these were interesting possibilities that could bring about some more growth to some of these small business owners that you turn your back on, or you don't look up what they're doing, what they're trying to do to bring about more strength. Sometimes it starts small, and you have a couple of people with a vision, and if you get enough people that will share the same vision together and build on that, it could grow into something you wouldn't believe. And if something grows like that, from something little, and it grows bigger, it can go places you wouldn't believe. So anyway, thanks for listening.